look at this
Okay.
here. So, Ken
Are
will
we,
be here.
are we live now?
We are live.
Oh, okay.
I think we're live. Well,
From New York.
check, but
Okay,
if
well,
all goes well, we should be live.
just, Ken said he was gonna be here in a minute, so we can wait a minute if that's okay.
It's fine by me. I'm okay.
Says it's live, so I think we're in good shape. So we're just waiting on Ken. Ken said he would be here.
Yeah, he was on his way. So is it Anthony or Tony that you go by?
Whichever's more comfortable.
Okay, I spoke with Mal.
Yes, yes.
I don't know if he talked to you, but.
Yeah, he did mention
Okay.
it, yep. We had a
So,
good conversation.
Yeah, so we do live stream if you ever want to see what's going on and you
Oh,
don't
okay,
want to
got
make
it.
the trip, but of course
Got it.
we're
No, I
we
wanted
are
to show
looking
you.
for we're always looking for new members because we're allowed up to 9 and we're at 4.
Oh, okay.
So-
Oh, my
so
gosh.
We,
Got some
we
openings.
want more.
We want more.
Okay.
Whatever you can give us, just so we have
Okay,
more people that can have eyes on things and.
right.
Is it you four and Kenny?
Mhm.
So
It's,
5?
No, well, this, not
Oh,
that,
you're-
not that, that
No,
Luke isn't
You're not-
valuable.
I'm
Yeah.
just
but
serving as a liaison.
He's a staff liaison,
Gotcha.
so.
Now, Tony, just a point to inform us, was the speed indicator put up on
Yeah, it
Greenville
was.
Beach? And is it a permanent one or is it a temporary?
There's a temporary one on wheels,
Okay,
and then it got taken away for one holiday, and then taken away at the beginning of the fall, I think. So it's no longer there.
okay.
But I can tell you, like it was basically in my front yard, I can tell you it had a big impact.
Mhm.
It has a big impact, not just immediately, but it's an awareness issue. So I really love it. I think those things are proven in general, but in
Mm-hmm.
this case, it certainly had an impact. People talked about it, people were more aware of the speeding issue.
Right. Does it capture, Luke, that, the
It
average
logs-
speeds? It logs the
it
speed,
logs
the
every
volume and the
data point,
speeds?
Yeah,
does.
and that's what the police chief said, yeah.
Yeah, they did
alright.
report out on it
Yeah, logs.
after
We
the.
get the logs on it. When he does, the only thing is when you do a speed study with that, obviously they're slowing down because they see the sign.
Right.
Well, that's to show the effectiveness of
Yeah.
it.
Did they log the before and after? Because you approach it and it says you're going 44, and then as you slow down, it's
Right.
you're going.
Yeah, I mean, I think it records the progression.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
I have talked to the chief on that one. I don't know if it
Yeah,
records
yeah.
like snapshots of when the
Yeah.
progression comes down. But you can
I mean,
definitely.
it detects far enough away before you actually digest that this is a
Yeah.
feedback sign. So it'll capture like the honest speed.
Would those results be available for this committee to know about the effectiveness of that for future requests?
I can ask the chief, but we use that data, right, for decision making and whatnot. I don't know. I'd have to ask him of whether he wants to release that.
Okay.
It'd be juicy stuff. It'd be good.
Yeah, I mean, for informational purposes, yes, but I just caution like it's for our decision making.
He did report on it.
Yeah.
Oh, he did give numbers?
He'll give a
He did
percentile.
give, or town manager Manny.
I
You mean to
apologize.
you?
Was it on Green Hill or was it?
It was on Green Hill and they spoke.
To the
in
town
front of
council?
Yeah.
Town council.
We'll typically
Town
give like
council.
the 80th percentile, like we'll give 85th percentile, we'll tell you like where the speeds are falling in general.
Yeah.
We don't give out the granular report, but we tell everyone,
Understood.
here's where you're falling within the
Yeah.
report.
Do you know if that data's online?
No,
Okay. You
Town
mean you know
ca-
it's not online?
I know it's not on there.
Okay, got it. But
Town-
if I went to the recording, I'd see it.
What's that?
Maybe.
Town council
I went
meeting.
to the-
Oh,
I couldn't tell you which.
yeah, I'm sorry. I can't remember
Yeah.
which meeting. I'm sure I can pull the report.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was about like a month ago, do you feel?
more
Yeah.
than a month.
If you want to just leave your information,
Oh, okay.
I'll just.
I didn't want to make work for you. I can, hop
No,
around.
If you want to, or if you just want to email me, just if
Okay.
you want to take down my email,
Sure.
I'll tell you right now. Do you have a pen?
No, we don't.
L Murray.
L
Yep. MURRAY
MURRAY.
at South Kingstown. RI.
Yep, that's it.
South Kingstown RI.gov. Sorry.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
just send me an email. And I'll,
Okay, great.
shoot it back. I'm sure
That's
I'll
perfect.
just get the chief.
People would love to hear that, it's
Yeah.
very engaged.
Because he would have had to
The
draft.
people that
He
remain.
he did draft a memo with it, I believe.
Oh, cool.
So.
Wow.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. Kenny will be here. So it is 6:08 on Thursday, November the 13th, 2025. So we'll call to order. We'll have a roll call. Dorothy Hill, Lisa Beth Sanford.
Elizabeth Sanford.
And Neil Murray.
And we have two guests,
Chris Slatney.
Tony Flynn?
Tony Flynn, and we have,
Chris, could you spell your last name?
yes.
Yeah, it's SZLATENYI.
Okay, we have our staff liaison, Luke Murray here.
ENYYI.
I.
Okay, I would never have guessed that. And it's Neil. No, you're Neil.
Tony
Murray.
Flynn.
Tony Flynn.
Flynn like Errol Flynn.
My favorite. Actually, it really was one of my
Oh,
favorites.
that's cool.
Okay, do we have minutes? They didn't go out ahead of time, so.
Didn't they?
I
Oh.
didn't see them, so I think we're gonna pass that off until the next meeting, till
Okay.
December, but it would be the September minutes. We did not meet in October.
Yes, and since they were all set like
Okay.
a month ago,
Okay,
I forgot all about them.
okay. All right, we'll work on it for
Yeah.
December. Okay. So correspondence and public comment. I did receive a letter forwarded from Representative Tanzi from a resident on Pond Street. It was on just safety issues and speeding on Pond Street. But it seemed to deal a little bit more with that turn from Main Street onto Pond Street and accidents there. So, but I will share it with you guys when I can. And I have some other correspondence, but I think that what I'll do is kind of weave it in to our discussion as we go through. And I just wanted to, for the benefit of our guests here, and also just as a point of reminding, I looked at our web page again, and I did print off some. I got some business cards for us. It has a QR code that will lead people to our webpage. So if you're talking with somebody out in public and you want to,
Okay.
continue the conversation or whatever, so I'm going to we'll share these later. But anyway, I just, in looking at our website, at our webpage, I noticed that some committees, the chair has their contact information. And I'm fine with that, if you want to put my contact information on there as well as yours.
Where we don't put any identifiable information on the site, what I
Okay.
can do is what happens, and here's the reason, because
Okay.
you'll get spammed.
Okay.
You will get spammed. And we get spams, so we actually recently, about a year
Okay.
ago, we took everything down. So
Okay.
we have a portal, like if you want to reach out under our contact us page,
Okay,
that's what I can do.
okay,
Is there's a funnel link, and what it does is you fill out a form, there's a spam filter, and then
Okay.
you can submit through that. But ideally, if I'm going to do that, they should go to me as a staff liaison and you.
and then you forward it to me.
Yeah, or
Okay.
I can have it divert to both, but
Okay.
I need to be involved in that
Sure.
process. But, yeah,
Okay.
we can do
That
something
sounds
like
great, and I just, but
And
just so
I'll
that
look,
you
because they're
know.
not supposed to have
Yeah,
contact
I just
information.
noticed that on
We
one of
just
them,
had
and
this
I thought, I'm fine
conversation.
with it. I want people to feel like they can reach out
Yeah.
to us, and I know that I looked for other committee members, for other committees, the chair information. I know you said that you provide that, but sometimes just want to reach out and make a comment or something, so. But anyway, just going back on that page, our mission statement is that we are to promote walking and biking across the community, including but not limited to incorporating the consideration of the needs of cyclists and pedestrians in the town's circulation systems and infrastructure through education and outreach efforts. So that's something that we're looking to do more of, involving town officials, residents, and commercial entities. And I hadn't really thought about how we might reach out to commercial entities, but that's something that we can be thinking about. The charges, our charges, are to promote a systematic method for ongoing citizen input into the development of important circulation policies, plans, and projects. So as we're going through our business items, old business, new business, I'm just making sure that everything kind of jives with what our charges are. So review, give input on relevant policy and planning documents, advocate for the development of comprehensive bike and pedestrian master plan, identifying funding options for the implementation of the bike and pedestrian projects, investigate how making South Kingstown a safer place for pedestrians, cyclists, and wheelchair users can increase our residents' health, safety, well-being, while benefiting our local economy by increasing bicycle tourism. So all of those charges fit really nicely into everything that we've got on the agenda this evening. So we're not going off in any fashion. So I just want to kind of reiterate that. So did you have some info for us? Do you want to go next? Staff report on town activities, or do you want to?
Oh, yeah, I guess we're at the top. Okay. So I can give a couple updates. If there's anything specific you want to hear about, that's fine. So I know one thing you're going to be talking about is CIP.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent out an email to all of you on the revised calendar. My apologies. We have so many meetings in the upcoming about budget and a variety of other things that it is going to be January when that process rings out. Our plan is due December 1st. So I've been working on that with the administration. We've already formulated the plan itself as far as budget, but there's a whole narrative portion and everything has to get put together, so the finance director is working on that. So if you do have questions later tonight when you're talking about CIP, I can give you a general overview. One thing with that, and I'll give it to you now, is that I did work with Jim and I recommended that we take the remaining money that we have from that original bond that we've talked about over and over again, is putting it in two places. We now have two separate funds that we've set up under the CIP. One is for traffic studies and those sort of engineering plans that would go forward. The second is low-cost improvements. So I split it up about 1/3, 2/3. 1/3 towards engineering studies and sort of planning, and the other 2/3 is towards implementation strategies. So things like speed feedback signs would be a big one, because we get more and more requests for that. So let's say a traffic study comes out and says, hey, yes, we recommend a crosswalk here, striping there, fog line there. That's a fund that we can tap. That's an open kind of fund in the CIP that we could tap to do those. Because we don't have money just sitting around. It has to be budgeted. So that gives us some money for, you guys have been talking about what can we do for low cost enhancements.
Mm-hmm.
We can do that. Obviously, a lot of what comes out of these traffic studies tends to be more traffic safety related. So whatever comes out will be what we kind of look at spending the money on. But that doesn't mean it's restricted to that. It can be used for bike ped type improvements, but again, it's limited. I think we had about 300,000 left over because 50,000 went to Kersey Road on that sidewalk, if you remember the engineering study. So, and the budget and the estimate came back on that at over, I think, $800,000 for that sidewalk. So that's included in the plan. Not for this year, it's in the 6-year plan, but that's, we don't have money for that.
So the original bond was for sidewalk improvements.
No, it was broad. I have the language. I think I can send it out to the group.
Yeah.
But it was originally like bicycle, pedestrian, and I don't know. There was
Bicycle pedestrian safety infrastructure.
something
To be
along-
determined.
Yeah, was that the original bond?
Well,
Oh, that's
it's
what's under there. Yeah, but it's different language in the bond package.
okay. So I
So-
just,
It's broad.
Yeah,
Traffic safety enhancements to include, et cetera, et cetera.
That's wonderful.
So the intent here is to start, like I'm trying to get everyone internally into the mechanism of process, right? Because we've never had, as talked about, we've always had a pavement management program. It wasn't about enhancement, it wasn't about addressing concerns. So by starting this fund and seeding it, the hope is that over the coming years, we'll continue to contribute to it. And we'll have an account for low-cost enhancements, we'll have an account for engineering, and then we did create this year a line item that's enhancements. So Kersey Road was one of the first things to go under the enhancements category. So, where we had pavement management only, we now have enhancements. The goal long-term, my goal, and I know that you talked about this and I hear you, is to start adding to that list. So when they do a roadway assessment, let's say, they look at it and they say, okay, this one, let's say based on the right of way, certain roads in town can pretty much only be repaved. I mean, there's just enough right of way to get a roadway in there. But if there's opportunity to do enhancement, that we look at it further and then start estimating that, putting it in the capital plan. And I've encouraged Rich to say, listen, doesn't mean the council will authorize it, but you at least bring it to their attention and say, this is something you may want to consider. And if you do, it's an extra $1.5 million. Do you want to put money towards that? They're the ones who control the budget. So they're the ones who are going to decide whether they want to go forward or not.
yeah.
So that's where we're at.
That was a point I made during my,
Yes, and
pitch
you
the
did a
other
very nice
evening.
job the other night of kind of pointing that out, and I think we're all on the same page. right?
So there'll be a fund, and whenever Rich or we want to use that money, it still has to go before the council to be approved?
No.
Or once it's in the fund, he can use it for,
Within the category that it was intended for,
Okay.
so it could be used for a variety. That's why keeping it fairly loose is a good thing, because
Yeah.
it could be used for like the bicycle pedestrians signage.
so
that
it
we
could be
did down.
used for markings on the road?
It
For
could be,
Sherrods, yeah.
I mean,
Sherrods.
obviously, there's a long-term consideration of that we just have to, because that's one-time funds. So once we
Right.
put a line on the ground that's new, we've got to maintain that, going forward. But that doesn't mean we can't do that. Like,
Right.
that's an initial, like, we get it out of the gate, Sharrows, anything like that, we
Mm-hmm.
could use that money for it.
Luke, is there a back of the envelope restriction in terms of, like, how long does bond counsel or your tax accountants ask that you spend those bonds down, or those proceeds down?
No, but it's been, as you know, 6 years? I mean, no, but, I shouldn't say that. I did ask Brian didn't know off the cuff either, but there is a point of reasonability here that we borrowed those funds and it's not to sit in a bank. What happens is we earn interest off those funds, and if we earn too much interest, we get penalized because we're a public entity. So that's where, we definitely want to spend down what we have. The other categories that were under that bond, which included the seawall, the guild, some other the communications project, have all, the guilds are getting renovated, so that's getting expended. So I want to get those funds expended over the next couple of years. So I guess to your point, whatever comes out of that fund, I don't want it to drag 6 years either. Like, if we're going to do improvements, we did a, so this will get to my next thing I'll talk about quickly. We did a roadway safety assessment on Fairgrounds Road leading into Liberty Lane about 2 weeks ago.
Okay,
So we had money left over from Bowman that they came to us and said, listen, RIPTA has some additional money for this effort. We can do a roadway safety assessment in town. It's a one-time gig, sign up or don't. So having heard some concerns about Fairgrounds and Liberty Lane as of late, I asked them to do that roadway. It was walked, the chief was out there, I was out there, a whole group of us. I don't have the report yet. We told them some of the concerns. Primarily, that road, has a hard bend past the industrial area, and then it kind of opens up, and you get going pretty quickly there. It's an hour road. It is, it's your typical South Kingstown right of way, right?
Great, thank you, ma'ams.
So, what?
Thank you, ma'ams.
Thank you, ma'ams.
The up and down and.
Oh, like whoop-de-doos?
Whoop-de-doos.
Yeah, I mean, but people use it as a cut-through, right? So we're waiting on that. Bowman was there with a representative of RIDOT and RIPTA. So I think it was a good session. It was about a half-day session, so.
Were you looking where the new
NORPAC,
NORPAC?
yeah.
So from there, you wouldn't be looking at all of it, just basically from, oh,
We
you
went
looked at the
all way
whole?
up, all the way
Okay.
up to Route 2.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
You walked it all the way?
No, we did drive portions of it, yeah. No, I'm not that ambitious. And it was
Okay.
cold that day.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
no,
that's,
but obviously there's a concentration, the traffic data that we got, I mean, obviously the major intersection is 138 in
Mhm.
Fairgrounds, right?
Right.
That's where all the accidents happen primarily. Couple accidents along where Arnold parks because people backing out and whatnot. And then they do have the plans for NORPAC, what we have today. NORPAC did their own traffic study for the proposed housing, so that will be incorporated in the assessment as well. So we'll see what comes back. I'll send that out to the group when I get a draft,
okay,
and that's that.
okay.
NORPAC is the proposed housing on the engineering building site. Is that where they're planning on doing it?
Fairgrounds Road, where Schneider Electric.
Schneider
is.
Electric
Yep,
had been.
that's it. So over 300 units there, portion affordable. Then they're in the process. So stay tuned, because that'll be a big project, obviously. I think it's 6 buildings, 3 stories high.
3 stories high?
Yeah.
All right. And the individual speaking the other night about saving industrial spots, but at the time.
Well, that's what he was alluding to, but
Yes.
that's, I will tell you, the state has changed the legislation to allow a lot of this by right in industrial districts,
Mhm.
so it's not really a local issue anymore.
Mhm.
Other than that, I have not heard anything on Safe Streets for All, but I will tell you, given the current environment, I'm not especially hopeful.
Mhm.
So we're just continuing to move ahead and do what we can, when we can, as far as that. In a general context, the funding for a lot of things has dried up. We did just get a Community Projects Assistant Fund grant through Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank for $50,000 to look at the Bell Block parking lot. So the parking lot behind the Bell Block building, where the new hotel's going in,
Mm-hmm.
that's a public parking lot. That's something we're gonna be looking at.
With
Main
Press Duck,
Street.
Main
Oh,
Street.
Main Street,
Sheldon's?
Sheldon's,
Sheldon's
yeah.
Furniture, yeah.
So, what's that? The Sheldon. So that parking lot needs some stormwater enhancements and some relayout. That's something that's been looked at a couple times over the years, but we're hoping to actually drive it home and get some funds. The funding categories that we're kind of narrowed down to now are mostly around resiliency and stormwater.
Okay.
That's where Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank still has money, DEM still seems to have money in those categories. Transportation money, not as much as there was. There was a lot, but it's dried up a lot. And then just general improvements. However, we are going for a grant for, recreation grant for Town Farm Park, Treaty Park, and Fagin Park. So, does everyone know what those are? So,
Okay.
Town Farm is off Route 1 next to the DPS building.
Right,
That's the one where I had a lot of controversy with the hospital.
right.
Right.
Mhm.
Parking.
So that one would be a complete master plan and kind of redesign, rethinking that park. Treaty Park is off Middlebridge.
Okay.
That's kind of a smaller, well, it's not small, it's got woodlands,
Oh,
but
with
it
the rock,
has a.
Treaty Rock?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it has this playground there, so it's primarily around the playground. It's a smaller grant for
Mhm.
100,000. And then Fagin Park is right off of Dam Street over here in Peacedale.
Right on the bike.
Right
Yeah.
on the bike path. We actually just upgraded the playground with ARPA money, but it was a 2 to 5 play structure, and the residents there really issued a concern that it didn't kind of meet the demographic there of having older teenagers. So we're looking to expand that. That's another $100,000 grant that we're looking to grab. So I mention that because it is right off the bike
Right.
path, and all of these have a bike ped component. Town Farm, I actually literally did a design for it. I'm gonna peel it back a little bit for the grant application, that shows a flyover Route 1 and connecting that over to Marina Park. That's a long sort of vision. But,
That's amazing.
yeah, well, that would, I mean, I'm not gonna show it because it's right now, I think, I don't wanna get hopes up, but I think we are, I say that to, like, Mike Stack, our natural resource officer, and Terry Murphy, like, we're all having these conversations. How do we connect across? And we're trying. We have money in the CIP for a master plan. We're going for this grant. So, like, there's a lot of, we are thinking about these connections. We're trying to figure out, all right, how do we connect one side to the other and make all this work?
I used to walk across there as a kid, going from Kenyon Ave to like the sailing center down there.
Yeah.
Just cut across the highway.
Yeah, you're a brave soul. Of course, traffic is not getting any better, right? So.
The
But for-
South Pond Road doesn't work.
Yeah, or you can
I
go
guess-
under,
why
right? You
couldn't
go under.
It's like.
No,
it's
no,
like-
yeah,
I think
it was
you
just, like, yeah, it was just quicker.
But that's something that we sent a letter off to the council advising about the connectivity of the rest of town north of Route 1 to
Right.
be able to get to the shoreline for cyclists and for pedestrians. That, I think that we had the comment that
Yeah.
it was sort of like the.
But from that park though, but from the, where 210 Oyster Bar, that area, you really can't
You can't cut
connect.
across, no,
You can't continue connecting
down to Matunic.
to Matunic.
No. So, I mean, we're looking at those options. Obviously, I mentioned Fagan, that one's right on the bike path. Treaty's a tough one. Middlebridge Road is tough.
There's not much parking there, and the parking is always chained off, so, isn't it?
It's a little dirt area, maybe the chains to keep cars from going into the park.
Seems like- Okay,
Isn't it right off the road? You pull right in off the road?
Yeah, there are
To be honest, I
spots
have
on the
limited-
roadside of the.
But right on the road, you
Experience.
don't pull into a parking lot anywhere there.
You can park like head in. There's room for a few cars.
That's what I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
saying. You can get 4 or 5 cars, head forward into a little parking area on the edge of the road.
right. Yeah.
So
It's
if you're
just
exploring connectivity, those are parks that are kind of on our radar right now for renovation and whatnot. And that's that. If there's anything else you want to hear, there's a ton of stuff going on in
Okay.
town. I won't bore you with the other stuff. But that's the primary things that come to mind as far as bicycle pedestrian. Obviously, the high school storm process. I have weekly meetings on that. Right now, foundations are getting dropped. There's nothing new on that front. We won't be refocusing on the design of other until like we get further into the process, site design, things like that. So, but it's going well. So far, so good.
I do want to say thank you for opening up the bike path for all hours. That is a wonderful.
Well, that actually hasn't
Well,
happened.
yeah, we're-
I want to be clear on
We're
that.
gonna, that's
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah,
discussion.
I think it's part of the discussion, but
So.
the
it-
discussion's happening.
Yeah, it's on the agenda to talk about, so we'll kind of, we'll hit that soon. Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Okay. Alrighty, so now we're on to, if we're following along, number 6, old business. Okay, and this is on the Tower Hill recommendations, BPAC recommendations to Town Council on Old Tower Hill Neighborhood Plan. And I'm just wondering, because I know that, that maybe we should move ahead to, because I don't want to lose Tony here. I don't know if you were more interested in CIP and the, what we were talking about as far as,
Input of neighborhoods?
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I think maybe if everybody's okay, let's scooch up to
See?
C, under old business. And I wonder if I can ask Ken to kind of help guide us through this, because I know that you have, well, we've all hopefully we've all had a chance to drive these roads. I finally hit Gravelly Hill Road yesterday, and then also Woodman's Trail, and some of the roads in the Oaks I'm pretty familiar with, Kenyon. So what we had talked about is how we can interject our input into low cost, no cost, and also just talk about the roads themselves and how we want to present this to Rich or to the town council to use the funds. So let me just, I think Rich had given us this here that listed all of the roads. So Woodruff Avenue from Robinson, that's done. Okay, that's on there. From Robinson to Main Street. Okay, Columbia Street is the next one on the list.
Yeah, I think we had a short list: Columbia, Woodsman's Trail, Gravelly Hill, Kenyon, and the Oaks. There were multiple streets within the Oaks. And just for context, I used to be a highway engineer at Rhode Island DOT back in the day, late 90s. And we had a two-step process for public engagement. What we would do is work with our consulting engineers and come up with concepts. And then we have initial public hearing, and we test the waters. Does this make sense? There was also a period of time when there was a group called DOT Watch that came out because a lot of public did not like anything that DOT was. But in the projects that were successful, we take the public feedback and then you go forward and have a more robust design development, and you bring it back to the town, and it's usually the chief elected official, town manager, mayor, or the council. They would have to moderate and listen to public input and give the approval to DOT go forward to this project. With that being said, as Luke has laid out, we don't have a ton of money allocated to resources for the town, and my suggestion is that we do a internal screening of these areas with local knowledge, and come up with a game plan to approach if there's a homeowner association, neighborhood association, a community center in these areas, and start having conversations with them to see if they're even remotely interested in anything aside of just pavement maintenance in their neighborhoods. That's a suggestion, and again, because we're advisory to the council, then it gets, on one end, it's very explicit, we have to advise the council, or we should. On the other end, we want to be good neighbors and stewards and partners with the town staff. We should be sharing that information laterally.
I know that we talked about this kind of system of this framework for gathering public information on these roads, and I was kind of the opinion that DPS would take the lead on that as far as sending out notices in advance. Because we can't, how would you think that we would notify people? Let's say we're talking about Columbia Street. How would we notify people that their road is up for work in the future?
One of the big questions with that, wouldn't it be the timeline? Because sometimes some of these have
Right.
been in the CIP for years,
Mm-hmm.
and they just haven't been addressed yet. So the timeline is
Yeah, that-
you don't want it to be too far in advance, and you also don't want it to be missing.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, but to Dorothy's point, town has social media, town has a
Okay.
webpage. I'm not sure what it's called, Luke. Is it the Alertus, or there's some other? People sign up.
People can sign up through the website for like a listserv and get notified of our newsflash.
Yeah, so there's low to no cost opportunities to get the word out there, and then honestly, you hope that social media or a local reporter will pick up
Okay.
interest and just let everybody know, hey, there's going to be a meeting at the Guild, for Columbia
Okay.
Street, or at the rec center for the Oaks, or something to that effect. And again, it's really drawn on local knowledge. If anybody knows of any, obviously for Gravelly Hill Road, there's
Mhm.
two major developments out there. There's there's ways that I think we can make best efforts, giving like a $0 budget to try to do some outreach.
Does the town maintain email addresses of residents and via tax?
Only if they sign up for alerts, but we don't maintain like a master list of email addresses, no.
Or postal addresses?
No. I mean, we do based on the owner of record for like if we were putting out tax bills, things like that, but that's the only reason we'd be.
So we used to do in Weston, we used to mail out notices to affected parties.
Yeah, for certain things, but again, we have a lot of notices because we also have planning notices that are official notices for public hearings.
And to that point, so when Rich does a paving project, I heard that he'll let folks know like very soon in advance of that work that hey, there's going to
There could be a detour.
I don't know if he has a list or if they're just doing like they hand out things to people's mailboxes. But
Yeah, I mean, and I think, if I may,
ahead.
I don't want to, it's your meeting. But I think, to Ken's point, right, low, no cost, instead of doing like an abutters list and trying to get everybody, because you never get everybody. And there might be interest in that roadway that aren't just directly on the roadway, right? There's bikers who might connect to that roadway. Is one option maybe to, let's just spitballing, like every year you have a list of roadways on our capital plan, for whether it be from 1 year to the 6th year, and saying, we're taking input on these roadways, and having a group like yours and other groups put the word out. I think that's a really helpful thing for us, right? Because you can help us. Part of your thing is education. You're educating people on getting to the meeting and sharing their perspectives. And then we can have a discussion on each one of those roadways. So it's not just one roadway at a time. It could be a basket
Lump
where
'em
we
all.
have 1, 2, 3 meetings on where it's like, let's get all comments on what you think, because we get crickets on one of the roadways, and it's like, no, it repays fine, then great, that one's off the community list, we might have 2 that rise to the top,
So
It's a thought, now that's
I mean,
just
that's
from
not a
where I
bad
sit, that's
idea
easier,
that say every year in September, prior to the CIP work going out, that we would host.
Get a rhythm going.
So every September, we host a public information meeting, maybe instead of our regular meeting here, or we could move it around to, rec center or the guild or whatever. It could be that Gravelly Hill is really the next thing that's going to be looked at, so we kind of want to get input on that.
Is that
first.
enough time frame to be doing it in September for CIP for
Well,
the
if it's
subsequent year?
several years,
'Cause
no,
we
it's
don't-
not.
Because we don't want to start inertia on
No, but I'm
upcoming
saying-
year or two.
yeah, I mean, I'm with Neil on this. I think what I'm hearing Luke also say is that we have a pavement management program, and you've got some money set over here for bike pedestrian improvements, some for engineering, and some for low to no cost. And the low to no cost is, in my mind, is explicitly, this is stuff that doesn't need heavy design, So if something were to shake out of those discussions that's engineering related, yeah, that project might get bumped back a year. Maybe you dip into the engineering study pot of money, and then you can get caught up.
But regardless of what month, we could do several roads in
one meeting.
In one meeting.
I definitely like that. I would also suggest that, like specifically for the Oaks, like the Oaks people just want to know about their neighborhood.
Right.
Like, and when we experienced having that community meeting in Matunic at the community center, it was about Matunic, so it was only them that came out. We held a similar meeting at the Guild for Eastdale. A lot of people came out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I think having that singular meeting makes a ton of sense. There may be a follow-on for specific areas. Like I'm personally, or I'm looking at the Oaks, I'm like, there's no way we could really ever have like a group meeting and really hear the neighbors in the Oaks. At some point, we probably have to have like a one-off. Somebody's got to talk to those folks. Because there's strong connectivity issues there with Broad Rock Middle School, and the senior center, rec center, like that.
Yeah. That makes sense to do something at the rec center.
Neighborhoods could learn from each other too.
You can always hope. I agree.
I mean, you
totally agree.
brainstorm together.
Yeah, no, that would be great because to your point, people kind of see that it's not the
You're not
boogeyman.
alone.
Right,
Right.
right.
So before we would provide any input to Rich on the projects, we would have a public outreach meeting and take all of that information.
Yeah, I would suggest that it's a group effort, right?
Yeah.
We're working in tandem and the town's involved directly in
Okay.
that process. Mainly because
Yeah.
we're the best to answer the
Right.
deep logistical. This is what we do on a daily, and what we can commit to. But I think having it facilitated, you have the ability to kind of go out and round everyone up and really help us get people to the table and making sure that everyone's heard. And we're not forgetting things either. So that way, but we're hearing it directly, so you don't have to be the filter. We can, and then you're also advisory to council, so you can report out directly to the council, which helps us because from a staff standpoint, we create a plan, right? And I always say, if council's ready to willing to pay for it, we'll do whatever, right? They want sidewalk, we'll put in sidewalk. But the money has to come and the community, so if you're pitching it as a separate group saying, yes, we support this and this is what we're hearing, that helps. So, good to meet you, Tony.
I'll be in touch.
All right, thank you.
Good work.
That would be my suggestion, just from a staff level, because that helps us kind of kill two birds, one stone.
Right.
We get the input, it's collaborative, we're working together, and then you're going off and you're doing your role as advisory to council, which supports the plan that ideally we're gonna create, which is based on that input. So, now whether you get there in the end, it's a money equation. But we're gonna hear other things, to Ken's point, like those no cost improvements are also expected to come up. May not be a big thing. Maybe, hey, we need a sign over here. Those are things, if Rich is here at the meeting, that doesn't necessarily have to get filtered into the CIP
Yeah.
development. That's just like, okay, well, we can do that.
Yeah.
We can do that short term. So those are also things that we get out of these meetings that is helpful.
Yeah, I like that. Can we decide on a date, or a meeting to go ahead and get started on that? I mean, just looking at this, it looks like Gravelly Hill is the next thing on the list. Not that it's gonna go next, but it's for 2027. All of the other ones have already been completed, the ones for 26. So, and then 28 looks like it's the Oaks.
Ideally, but I'll put the caveat to that. So we have a list that we put in there because the council generally wants to kind of know what roads we're doing, right? But the fund itself is an open fund, meaning we can shift, like if Gravelly
Okay.
Hill gets funded for next year, and let's say we're like, you know what, Columbia is coming up for the school, we've got to shift those funds, we can do that. And he does do that often. So
Right.
we're not locked into that list. And to some of your earlier points, if we got feedback on a roadway and let's say, wow, we're going to have to take a step back and maybe allocate funds, we can do that. So it's a bit of a fluid plan. So I just don't want you to think that we're like locked into Gravelly Hill.
Okay.
Because quite frankly, the funding we have for this year is only going to pave half of Gravelly
Right.
because we don't have enough money. So we've got to take it in two phases. We may get some feedback, like let's say a certain roadway completely gets destroyed over the winter, we can shift those funds. We may say, you know what, Gravelly's not at the top of the list anymore.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
does that make sense?
Well, what do we think as far as scheduling something? Can we decide now that in January we'll have a meeting and we'll invite, the Oaks?
I think we first have to determine the method by which we communicate to the
Right.
neighborhoods in order to then have the meeting.
Okay,
So, and quite frankly, January and planning it for it during the holidays is gonna be difficult,
Okay.
I think, for this group, or at least for myself, I'll speak.
Sure.
But it could be something that could follow February, March, but if in January we start to have the communications go
Okay.
out, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I've got explicit ideas for these corridors, but I'm with you. I mean, we should talk things through. And then, yeah, give
I think it would be helpful to me too, if you want to write up the process, you have some
Yep.
thoughts here, I'm
Okay.
taking notes of, what's the process? And then, let me go back to Rich, and I'll talk to the town manager as well, because he may have suggestions on when that would be best input received. Because obviously, I'll be honest, we're past the development of the CIP for this year, like, it's getting issued.
right, no,
So whatever we're getting, I don't want, It also, I don't want to give the illusion to people that it's going to be incorporated this year.
No.
So timing is,
No, I know, yeah, I understand that.
so
I'm
maybe
just,
spring would be the best, where we're coming out, we can actually get people to the table or something like that. So while we're in development and thinking about it, we can,
That's fine. Let me ask the dumb question. So get your crystal ball out. Which road will get taken care of next summer?
so right now, Rich is planning on Gravelly Hill, and it's a repaving project, because it just needs to be done, and that's what we have money for. Even if things are identified, quite frankly, even if someone told me tomorrow, we want a sidewalk on Gravelly Hill Road, we have zero funding for it. So I think, I think if I'm being honest, it's gonna be a slow roll into a process whereby we can get this sort of measured out over the next couple of years into sort of the mindset of, all right, enhancements and repave. But you gotta start somewhere.
yeah,
Not a
So-
problem.
I personally like the idea of the March annual meeting, going out to different neighborhoods as a process. Just making sure that we have something going out there. The CIP has just gotten budgeted for the previous year, for the upcoming year, so we can look forward to the next couple of years,
yeah.
so that we can actually let the people know in the neighborhoods what's happening
So-
in a few years.
Do we
In the
think
next
that,
couple
the Oaks should be separate, a separate one? Probably, because it's,
So we're getting into the weeds right
Yeah.
now. The Oaks has it's a strong connection to the middle school and
Right.
to all the other town facilities on the other side of the Oaks. And then anchoring it back over to the Village Green. So I think the neighbors ought to have some level of primacy, because natural connections that are already, I ride through all the time when I go to the rec center or jump on that bike path. Don't go to the middle school. But I wouldn't I'm watching closely, Chris, you are as well, what's going on in Narragansett, and neighbors and off Strathmore Street, they are losing their minds. They've lost their minds.
Because people will ride bikes on public roads?
It's complicated. There's attorneys involved, and the point
Right,
being that,
attorneys.
we want to be successful. We want to pick and choose our battles, and incremental improvement is still improvement. I'd love to hear folks in the Oaks saying, yeah, we don't like people zipping through here, and we want our kids to play, and hey, what could you do to help us out, which aligns with what we're trying to do? And that would be an easy lift versus somebody externally saying, you ought to do this, we're going to do this.
Right.
I've talked to say, we're going to do this, and then it's contentious.
yeah,
And I'm sorry for getting into the weeds, but Oaks, I think, is a strong connection possibility that seemingly should happen.
But they have to want it to happen.
Well, if they don't, then everybody else needs to know this, and
Yep.
the council and the staff and everybody
Yeah.
else. And, that would be a horse of a different color.
And I was made note that the avenues of communication could be different by neighborhood as well.
yeah,
Whether Gravelly Hill Road is a postcard notification, whereas the Oaks might be something that can get posted, and the venues could be different as well.
could one of those, the portable signs that say, slow down, school's back in session, that they post, and I don't know if that was what they had on the neighborhood in the Green Hill.
Green Hill Road?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was a speed sign.
It was
That would
okay.
tell them how fast they were going.
Okay.
But you think, does the town even have one of those
Yeah,
communications?
Yeah.
We have a message.
Yeah.
board.
So
we
I
use it
mean,
for
could you
recruiting
put
and stuff. A lot of
one-
times it's over at the headquarters for recruiting.
So you could potentially put one, a week before on one end of Gravelly Hill and on the other. So, that might work as far as meeting on, I don't know.
So these are all good ideas, like put it, just to zoom out from the Oaks and everything else. The big thing for me to take back to the group, right, to my team, is to say, here's what the BPAC is thinking as far as process. They want to have a meeting once, and I'm not saying this is what it is, but these are the types of things we're looking for. They want to have a meeting once per year in generally these dates, or whatever, in the fall, in the spring. They want to, assess one roadway, multiple roadways at one time, or et cetera. They want to, to get the word out, they want to do X, Y, Z. And they're going to work with us, and here's what they are thinking they need from us, and here's what the goals are that come out of that, right? So then I can take it back, and they can poke holes in it, because
Okay.
I'm going to also involve the chief in this, because it's good feedback for him, right? This is the perfect time to hear
Yeah.
about traffic safety concerns
Right.
and all that. So this is a great group meeting that we do as collaborative, but they'll also poke holes in it as like, here's what we can do, here's what we can't do. Like notifications, right? I'll tell you right now, we don't have the budget and the resources to do, a butter notifications to everyone in town around a roadway. It's a heavy lift to do that. But you guys have come up with some great ideas that I think don't involve that. So that's a good way to, anything you can come up with to get the word out, we're all ears on that at low, no cost. And there may be things that we can do, depending on timing. If we already have notifications going out, maybe we coordinate those timings. So that's just, I'll stop talking, but if you guys can give me the framework, and then we can continue to work on it. That's what I'm trying
Okay.
to look for out of
Okay.
this.
And as board members, we can communicate outside of this meeting to come up with the framework and get back to you, Luke?
So unfortunately,
No.
no.
Can we,
But you
Yeah,
can,
like,
you can
two
continue
of
to
us?
feed ideas to like me, or and
Yeah.
if you want to do a collaborative document or something, we'll figure it out. Like we'll be flexible enough.
We'll bring individual
It's
ideas
fine.
together for
Yeah,
the next
we'll
meeting.
bring it together. We've done this for letters and other things.
Right,
We'll
right.
just make a list of ideas
And
as they come.
Again, my preference was for spring, so that it gives time to
But
meet, to get the feedback, and then have that feedback provided to DPS so that they can get back with what they can incorporate in the next year's activities, rather than waiting towards end of
Yeah.
year. We need that lead time.
yeah.
And I think people are more interested in the springtime. And fall comes along, and that's the beginning of the holiday season.
Yeah.
Eggnog.
Eggnog. Eggnog. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know.
So we've decided that outside of the meeting, we're going to collaborate individually, sending it through, not a group discussion. I know that there's 4 of us right now, so 2 people becomes a quorum, right? Can we ask 2 people to kind of work on it? And
Technically,
then,
yeah, you guys are finished.
I know.
Yeah.
If
We need
only
you,
we
Chris.
had one more person.
You're all here right now. You're only here right now. I mean, you can discuss it now if you want.
Yeah,
Spitball
let's-
ideas and,
All right.
Yeah.
Well, takeaways that we have from this for possible communication methods are: 1, what's the feasibility of the sign that the town owns, which could put a notice, say if it were posted, how many does the town have?
Yeah, I honestly don't know the answer to that
And
question.
if we
have a
if
couple.
it's 2 or 1, and I was bringing up,
Just add that to
is
the
it
list of
unique
things
to
you
different
bypassed.
neighborhoods? I mean, Gravelly Hill Road, are you going to put one at each end out there, or
That makes
is it
sense.
or the number of residences along Gravelly Hill Road? Is it feasible to just do a postcard notification?
I think that
There's
Luke was
a
saying
lot of
that
people
that we don't have the money for a postcard.
Mm,
It
I-
seems
Is that what
easy
you
to.
said?
Can't you just print out something, staple it to the telephone pole on the road?
Well, they're driving
People will see
along,
it.
they're not going to see, but I think the electric sign is the better option, because that's more visible. But
From a car, for sure.
Gravelly Hill doesn't have sidewalks.
Yep.
So seeing,
People still walk on it. People stop at the intersections.
So I'll check on we'll add it to the list. I'll check on the town side. That's a good idea. Postcards, I'm not saying no. It depends on what the framework of the meeting. If it's a once-a-year meeting and, we may consider doing a postcard within a certain area. We can't do the entire town. But if there's a certain threshold that we set, maybe there is if it's, like I said, maybe it's the first meeting we do the postcard, and if there's a follow-up, then it's social media. I don't know, but I can look at it.
And if these meetings are they like a BPAC specific thing, or are you going after?
the BPAC is promoting the meetings to see that pedestrian and bicycle access and town safety and certain enhancements can be included in.
Then I think you'd want to target the people that aren't driving more so than the ones that are, you know?
But we can't identify who, so you.
No, but I'm saying if you
And
like
you
put
might
a
find that
piece of
there-
paper out that's,
You might also find that there are people
Yeah.
who are not cycling and are not walking because of their safety concerns.
Oh, yeah.
And would like to have the enhancements so that they can do so.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I think for Gravelly Hill, the sign on each end makes sense because you have to pass the sign in order to get out of the neighborhood.
All right, so Luke's gonna test and see what's available and as a resource.
Yeah, Gravelly Hill is one of many roads that, this is a process, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Take out, I
We
would
can-
encourage
well,
you to
you-
take out the roadways out of the equation right now. I'm looking for a process. What is the
Yep,
process?
agreed.
So, with that being said, having the meeting once a year, that's part of the process. Using the traffic signs, social media, website alerts, and other methods that may make sense for each year, because we didn't know about social media 15 years ago. It wasn't like it is. So, in the past, there used to be you'd put it in the paper. That doesn't work anymore.
Well,
so that's
Well, South County,
it might be
That's
something.
free. That's
South
free.
Kingstown doesn't advertise in the local paper. They don't do public notices in the Independent, do you?
But we could.
Yeah,
we can.
all our legal notices still go on the paper.
In the
Yeah.
Independent
We
or
still-
Narragansett Times?
But-
Actually, a lot of times it's both.
But we could get one of the
independent.
reporters
Okay.
to write an article on,
Yeah.
looking for input on these roads. I mean,
We have
you'll
to
see
for a
more.
lot of our notices. It still says newspaper, so we have to do newspaper.
Oh, okay. I just never seen it, noticed it in the Independent. Okay.
We're the black and white ones in the corner.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And then the big key is finding the local person who in the neighborhood who's got the biggest mouth.
Yeah, that's true. And so then part of the process is determining where the meeting will be. And then also who, should be included. I mean, obviously, Rich. I think the police chief is perfect as well. I don't know if somebody,
Planning department, it depends.
planning or-
It depends on,
Yeah.
the magnitude. I mean, is, again, simple striping, signage.
yeah.
Loaded, no
But we
cost.
just don't know what the community is gonna say in advance. So part of the process is just,
But-
these are the people.
And that
to
all
be
being
included.
said, it's also, I'm gonna tie it back to planning, so there could be something in the master plan for the town that says, or comprehensive plan that suggests that, this area is a corridor that feeds the shoreline or public services, so you'd like to align yourself with what's in the village studies and what's in the comp plan. And that could be a predicate to, giving a narrative, hey, we're here, we're doing bare bones pavement restoration, that's what's in the budget, but we've got the planning, we've checked here and there. This is what the town thinks it should look like in the future, and we're trying to do some incremental.
Yeah,
Discussion.
and
What do you
also,
wanna do?
maybe by then, we'll have the engineering study done, that's the viability of different types of traffic calming. Maybe that study will be done.
I don't think you need to do that. I mean,
Okay,
the engineering techniques are out there,
yeah,
so you don't have to do another study to prove that those techniques work. So all you need to do, I think, like in my mind, I knew the list of roads, I'm like, well, this is easy. Sharrows over here, some signage, elevated crosswalks, mid-block crossing signs, and it's, I think having the concept that the language village studies, the comp plan, our vice confession master plan, is a great starting point. And then you say, hey, these are some of the things that apparently are out there that could work in this area. What do you want to do? You gotta get the feedback from the
Okay.
locals. If they want something of substance, then that goes into, okay, well, maybe we can dip into the engineering account. And then you're gonna look at Rich and say, will you, or the town engineer, take this on directly and just write a spec and put it into the paving contract? Or do you wanna have the safety net of an engineered system? I mean, honestly, where we're trying, there's probably ample opportunity to do standard traffic calming measures that probably won't require a ton of engineering. But you gotta have that buy-in from the locals first.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it could be contentious.
Yeah.
And just so you know, along with this, I didn't mention it earlier, part of that money is, we're looking at, and I've talked to the chief and Rich about this, looking at creating an in-house group where because I looked at a model and Dedham has this, when issues come in on traffic, instead of people feeling like their only avenue is to go to the council and bang the drum, and then it's, of course, it's one at a time, having a mechanism where we would take that in and have formulated objective criteria for certain sort of countermeasures. So
That's what I
there's
was-
proven countermeasures out there
Yeah.
that, to Ken's point, like that work. We
Yeah.
know that. But what would trigger that? Because it's really like, it can't be everyone gets what they want all the time. Like what triggers to where we're gonna do a speed feedback sign, to narrowing, to putting fog lines on, to doing different things. So that we have objective kind of criteria. So certain traffic count's a good one, right? If it's a out in the middle of Nowheresville, is it gonna get the same treatment as if it was in downtown Wakefield and traveled, a couple thousand cars a day? So so I only say that to say, we're working on a separate process to handle some of those more immediate abutter concerns about like more of the speeding, because that tends to be our higher threshold. So to Ken's point, some of the other stuff will get captured in this meeting, we might hear it, but we may funnel some of that through the other process. We may say, well, that's more of a speeding concern, we have money for that, and we'll push it in this direction so we can immediately start addressing some of those low-cost enhancements. What's definitely not gonna get picked up is the bigger stuff. Or it's just the stuff that you more care about, bicycle pedestrian. As we tend to focus on speeding and safety, that tends to be the.
Yeah.
So going along back to the process, say we started off with, in the spring, we know what's going on in the future CIPs. We have one meeting in the spring for the town-wide CIPs, and then as needed, a secondary or tertiary meeting based on the neighborhoods, to reach out to the neighborhoods as they need, they need the input based upon their first input into the original meeting.
Yeah, I think, again, depending on the magnitude of the improvement, the magnitude of the feedback.
Yeah, that's what I'm,
It could be one and done, it could be everybody thinks this makes sense, and if Rich is feeling, if the town also agrees, that's great. I think some of the areas might at least need a second meeting. It depends, again. If there's any engineering or layout, or if Rich has an opinion, he wants to go look at things, that could mean a second meeting. But I think there's also a tipping point where how much public engagement do you want, where a lot of this work really is in the domain of town staff. There's usually there's just enough, and I don't know how much that is. So like my in-law used to know just enough salt in her gravy. I'm like, what is that? I don't know.
And that's similar to what I had put in here. You said secondary meeting, and it said, or an update provided to the attendees. That they feel they were not listened to and forgotten, but they can be given to hear the takeaways and what can be done based on budget and capacities.
And it feels like there's almost a segue from what we're doing to town staff. It's like we're just a volunteer body.
We're the hosts.
We're helping to facilitate some initial conversations, and then really it's in the hands of the professionals like town staff.
Okay.
Well, if I can suggest, Neil is, I think, got a handle on.
I will send a framework to Luke so that we don't have a quorum.
Okay.
It's fine.
That
And
sounds
what I
great.
can do is I'll
And you could provide,
push it out, and then if you guys have any comments individually, you want to amend the plan, that's fine. And then just get it back, and then we'll just kind of compile it.
Okay.
and you could get the feedback from
Staff.
the staff
I'll have a
here
meeting internally.
and provide it as input before we
Yeah,
go
because
through
this is new for them
distribution.
too, I'll put the caveat, like, I'm still, we have a great staff, Why don't you just put it that way, you know, and they have a immense amount of work to do. But, you know, anything new, it's change. Change is difficult. And it's also, it always seems like more, right? More output means, you always say, don't ask the question if you don't want the answer, right? So we're asking more questions. We may get answers, and those answers may be, they want more. And some of that may even spark discussion that goes to council too, because you still open that door and then all of a sudden it opens up other things. I'm not concerned about that because that's the public process, but it's just, I want to make sure that the staff's on board and that we're all working and rowing in the same direction. But I think this is great. You know, I think collaborative is great. This group helping is a great thing. Get the word out and make sure everyone's heard.
And I'll reiterate, this is what I said, 2 nights ago in front of the town council.
Yes.
They asked, I listed the very many projects, but I also said, but we need a strategy and a process going forward so it's not a series of one-offs. And so this would be in line with what was already mentioned by me to the council and when they reapproved me, so process
He's
helps.
certified.
I know.
Certified fresh.
Which one do you want to be, certified or bona fide?
Electrified.
Electrified.
Okay.
How are you finding the meeting so far?
Riveting.
Again, I was helpful that you recited the nature of what the group is, the committee is for, and I think to give him context and anybody who might watch online that the goals
Yeah.
are.
Yep. Great. Well, so I think we've moved from, let's see, we did 4, we did 5, we did 6, B, and C. Because we kind of worked the working doc on framework for gathering public input along with the CIP process.
So just to note again, Neil, you're going to set up the framework to send to Luke.
And Luke will share
And
with
Luke will
staff.
share with staff and with us.
And then be able to
Back to us.
provide input or the results for our next meeting.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, all right, going back to, or we can do the bike path, or we can go back to old Tower Hill neighborhood plan. What are y'all feeling? Okay, we'll go back to the,
You already gave the update in regards to the bike path. It went to town council. I guess a line was stricken from the restrictions.
well, no.
It looked like, or was proposed, and then it was presented and then proposed for further study?
Yeah, so essentially, it's an ordinance, right? So
Yes.
to be taken out of the ordinance, it requires a public hearing process. Where it landed was, the manager was asked to reach out to DOT to see, you know, if they had concerns of what it would take. Jim reached out to Bob Rocchio. Bob basically said, yeah, we'll do what the town wants. Now, that's easy to say, that needs to be funded and stuff. But it was really just making sure there was some enhancements at the intersections. Again, that's a point of discussion as well. The town manager, the last session I was in, the manager gave the update. It was sort of like, okay, we're tracking, let's get more feedback on what can be done. So I can go back to the manager and kind of see where we're going with this. The rec commission, I don't know, did they have another meeting on this? I have to circle back with Terry. I
Well-
don't think they took this up again.
I'm not sure. I mean, we went to the one meeting.
We went to the one meeting and they just kind of took down some info from us, and they had a little bit of a discussion among themselves. But when I talked to town manager Manny, he had not communicated with Terry.
Oh, Terry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before that meeting, maybe he has since then. We were charged with providing a position. BPAC was from Terry, and so I don't know that we need to do that anymore because.
I think I like the direction the town manager's going.
Yeah.
And honestly, it doesn't feel like the rec department or the rec commission wants to take on this new charge. So
Okay.
I think it was an elegant way to
Yeah, so,
Focus the efforts more on public safety. So
Yeah.
that's-
Well,
Yeah.
to the point of public safety, if you're asking this DOT for enhancements at street crossings, will we be asking them for signage at input points requiring that people utilize lights on their bicycles after dusk? Because to allow the riding after dusk implies the bike path is safe after dusk. And by having signage requiring lights on the bicycles, because we're not going to put lighting all the way along the bike path, but requiring the users to have headlights of some sort for riding at dusk, I think puts the onus, but also a notice should be posted.
well,
at
but we
inputs.
don't post anything on the side of the road.
Does it say
for
close?
people.
No, but roadways often have lights.
Not all of them.
Not a gravelly hill road.
It's already law that you need a headlight at night, and I think that applies
It is
on
law?
paths
It
as
is.
well, not just roads, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have a sign on the road saying turn your headlights on.
It is required on bicycles
Oh yeah, definitely.
by law?
Yep, state law.
I was just gonna ask that. There must be a state law on this.
Does redundancy
Yeah,
hurt?
so what I can do is, I'll go see where we sit on status on this. I think there was a effort by the manager to kind of bridge the gap and say, if we're gonna do it, we just wanna make sure that it's as safe as possible at our most vulnerable points, which is the intersections. As far as the path itself, adding lighting and et cetera, I mean, it's a slippery slope. right?
No, not gonna happen.
And I don't think that's what we heard,
No.
No.
Obviously, the chief has come around on this too. I mean, I think he realizes he's in agreement. We're all kind of in agreement. It's a good discussion that we've had, that this, it is the safest route for travel. And it is a route for travel. A lot of people live off it. So we can't refute that, and I think we've kind of come around. It's a balance, right? There's a balance between what does public safety mean? I mean, it also means being safe on the roadways, not just worried about vandalism or people loitering or et cetera. So, and it is not a traditional park in the sense of like, it's not recreation fields and whatnot. It is a mode of transportation. So I think in my last discussion with the chief, which was only 2 weeks ago on this topic, was he's kind of seen the light on that, and if we can bridge the gap. So I'll check with the manager, see where we're standing. And the question really comes, at what point are we gonna pull the trigger? Are we gonna wait for DOT, or are we gonna just preemptively do it and let everyone take their own risk, and so be it? And I don't know where that stands. But I'd rather preemptively ask the question before it comes up from the community on where is this sitting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll report back. Then
Yeah,
at
I'll
the next
report
meeting.
back, and I think
Okay.
it's a good discussion. We have a million things on our list, so it's always good to have groups come and say, hey, what about this? Because it brings it fresh.
To Chris and Neil's point, so yeah, General Law 31-19-10.
What's the RA, Joe?
31-19-10. Title 31. So it's entitled Lamps and Other Equipment on Bicycles. So it talks about front lamps and reflectors, sirens, whistles, brakes.
Are required, and usage is required after dark.
Yeah. Yep. At nighttime. Yeah.
Does it specify where? Or does it say
No.
on public roadways?
At night.
It's just at night, just to be safe, so if it's on a public street, or if it's on a bike path, or if you're riding on the beach, or whatever. So,
Okay.
No, I mean, it's good because we may even reference that if we were to pass an amended ordinance, we could refer to the title and say, shall have proper safety equipment in accordance with RIGL. We do that often.
Okay.
So I said it before, but to me it still seems like separate issues. One is just the ordinance and just striking the bike path from those list of parks, and the other one is, safety improvements that you might want to do at night, but I don't see why one needs to be tied to the other.
I would support that. What's interesting is that there was a council meeting, and I think there was a very quick decision made, and then the council was able to kind of walk it back and think about it with input from staff. So I'd like to see that leverage in a positive light. And there's many other follow-on discussions, but Dorothy and I also saw, the rec board kind of try to, on the spot, try to figure things out. I'm like, that's not the right way to do it either. So, I mean, this is another incremental step in the right direction. I think it's good. And I'm with you, Neil. This, like, I've got in my head, there's so many different intersecting roads where, like, they stop the people on the bike path, and I'm like, that's literally like servicing. It's a gravel road servicing like 3 houses. Why does the bike path that has thousands of travelers a day have to stop for like the same 2 neighbors? But I'm like, I don't want to muddle the issue.
Yeah.
At this point, will that be a separate issue?
Yeah.
And
They switched it. Where did they switch the stop?
Cemetery Road.
Yeah, Cemetery Lane. I noticed
Yes.
that one
Yeah.
disappeared.
Yeah. They switched it so that.
Yeah.
as well,
The stop is on the bike path now rather than on the roadway?
No, it's on the roadway
Okay.
instead of the bike path.
But Larkins Pond North, they put up a big fuss for that one. Yeah, I remember them putting that one up.
Okay.
So my other takeaway from this, and thank you for all the
Oh.
effort here, has been great. It looks like things are happening, so that's great. You can just ask RIDOT for things, and they'll say yes and give it to us. Should we be doing that more?
You can say yes, and it will be forthcoming sometime, right?
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
no, so the answer is no. We're lucky enough to have a town manager who used to be the former colonel of the state police. He has relationships built. How long those are gonna last, especially with an election coming up and prospective changeover, I don't know. But, you know, he certainly cashed in a couple of chips to make the phone calls and try to get things moving. One prime example is Old Tower Hill Road maintenance. You know, that's been something that was on his list. He managed to get the wheels turning on ensuring maintenance is going, and that continues to be a struggle. But there's only so many chips you can cash, and so we're cognizant of that. There's a formal process you can go through, State Traffic Commission, which also our chief happens to be on, which is very lucky for us. But again, there's only so many times you want to ask and leverage your position. So he's been able on these issues to make the call and get some commitments. Again, the follow through is the thing. There's a long time, but another cash in chip was Kingston Road. That stretch wasn't going to get paved. That wasn't on the list, and so that was a big ask. That he brought Bob Rocchio down and said, look at the roadway, and was able to get movement. So. We're just cautious, so I only put that as a word of caution. We don't just get everything we want. We're one of 39 cities and towns, but they've been pretty good with us to help us out with some of these issues.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go back to old business A, if we're ready. And so one of our charges is to review and give him input on relevant policy and planning documents, and we have the Old Tower Hill Neighborhood Plan, and don't know where that stands as far as moving through the planning board and the town council right now, but we have an opportunity to provide some input on that. And I posed a couple questions to Director Rabbit today. He's out at a conference, I believe, so he didn't get a chance to respond too much. But if you've looked at the plan, it does a lot to speak to creating a walkable, very pedestrian friendly zoning areas. In that whole area there. So, but my question to him was: there's several roads and roadways that are within that area that don't have adequate pedestrian infrastructure right now. So, between if you think about where, and might bring, I don't know if you can bring this up or not, but Indian Run Village Apartments. And then there's the Ace Hardware and Bank of America, and there's a roadway that you would use to get up to the sidewalks that are on Old Tower Hill Road, and there aren't any sidewalks on that, so you're just walking on the road, on that, I mean, it's,
The service road behind Ace and,
yeah.
and
and Bank of America. So, yeah, so that roadway, to the, yeah, that one right there. There's no sidewalks there. In fact, there's kind of a gate or a fence, that's runs along that parking lot. So you really can't get off of the road there. So I'm talking about, yeah, coming down. So if somebody from Indian Run wants to go to Shaw's, they would need to walk out on that road and then get to Tower Hill Road. So my question to him was, well, how do you require, or what do you do with a situation like that where, how do you require that there be some kind of easement or some kind of infrastructure for for pedestrians? And the other one is like on Holly Street, behind the job lot. Okay, there's a sidewalk on one side of the road, but not on the other. So I just wanted to ask, how do you make sure that those things are part of a development plan? And then the other one was, how do you, looking at that gated community, Wakefield Meadows, how does this plan ensure that pedestrian movement is not blocked during, by development in that area? And I didn't see it in the plan, but then he did respond, and he said that there's two primary components to the Old Tower Hill Road. The first is the neighborhood plan, which was completed last year, and identifies the development potential aesthetics for the area, including interconnectors, relationships with vehicles, pedestrian, cycling movements. And the second phase is, I guess, what they're really working on now is the code. The second phase is associated with the actual regulating plan. And the regulatory plan or code sets the controls and the zoning associated with development in that area. In some instances, the town is limited in the amount of improvements that can be assigned to a new development. Regarding on-site and off-site improvements, the code defines what the private and public right-of-ways, what those requirements are by the developer. So obviously you can't ask the developer to build sidewalks outside of their area. But he said the code is a better tool to address development patterns in the area versus the town's existing regulations, which do not address any of the items that I pointed out. As an example, under the new code, okay, so this is not yet approved code, correct?
No.
Okay. Under the new code, the planning board can require a developer to install pedestrian sidewalks and/or trail links within an immediately adjacent property they and/or the town control. But it would be difficult to require the same developer to go across the street, make improvements. I didn't think that would be the case. So that was my concern, is that if you remember way back, the Dover Coal had provided if you go back up to that map, okay, they had provided with Old Mountain Field and Indian Run, all in that area there, they had all the trails listed. And they said, oh, look at what we can do. We can connect these, or you can connect these.
To Old Tower Hill Road.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not there now?
And it's not part of the plan now, but,
Right.
I mean, I think that was just kind of an aspirational thing on their part. But I wanted to see, how does that connecting trails that are behind, like Indian Run and Old Mountain Field, how do you connect those between these property lines? How is that you know, how,
So, Jamie's right in the sense of the code is only gonna deal with private development on private property. That's why it's not shown on the plan, right, itself, because the code it's a zoning code. We're moving to what they call a form-based code.
Right.
So there's two types, Euclidean and form-based. Euclidean is our traditional zoning, which is use-based, right? You have a tailor, you have a, this is very much what's the box look like and everything around that box. And as long as you fit those terms, you can kind of have whatever use you want in it, right? That's the like drill down version. So that's what Jamie's working on with the Ontario Master Plan, is coming up with a form-based code, which we've gotten some pushback on because we have business owners in the area who like don't necessarily want to redevelop. Like they like what they have and they don't want to move with the times. But it's not going to address off-site issues, what you're talking about. So the master plan gives that aspirational, like, wouldn't it be great if we could create these connections so when the private development gets developed, then that connection can be brought into the development and you kind of have the seamless integration. So you asked the question, how do you make those connections? I would say that's a project in itself. If we were doing it in-house and we were kind of like, all right, we want to make this trail, we would do property research. We'd see if we can get easements over that property. We'd see if it's up for sale, things like that, you know.
that's not, yeah, that's not really what I was talking about. I was saying that if there are, in the future, you want to do a trail, how do you get an easement so that this property in yellow here is not blocking a trail? Like, how do you get, I'm not saying go through the middle of the property, but if there's a trail on the south side of the yellow and a trail on the north side of the established, maybe, that you can't put something in there that's gonna then block this egress or pedestrian movement. I'm
gonna
thinking
give you a
about that
perfect example.
the apartment building that's going to go in on Route 1, behind Route 1, that goes no. I mean, you have to drive out onto Route 1 in order to get to Shaw's or to get to South County Commons, because you can't go across those properties. So that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, so you can't preclude, people have property rights.
Right.
So as long as they meet the setbacks, as long as they meet, the standards, you really can't say, oh, you can't block it, right? It's private property. So you can put whatever you want on it, you can put a fence around that property. You have a right. So,
But if there's easements for utilities,
well, they're for utilities, right? If that
That's an
doesn't mean.
agreement.
Pedestrian
there's a
movement
whole-
is
There's this
not.
whole slew of things when you get public people using recreation on private property that
Yeah.
people don't like, right?
okay.
So I understand where you're going with it. It's just, I think what Jamie's getting to is there's no way you can force somebody on a private development to allow that access. And nothing we can require, because essentially they have a right to keep that property private.
Yeah.
And so there is no good way to get there. So what you ideally try to do is find owners before they develop it, and you either get easements or you find ways to say, listen, we're incorporating this, or it's for public benefit. You try to acquire the property and you do it preemptively, knowing that you want to get from here to there. The ship is a bit sailed when they say, hey, we want to put a 200-unit hotel on it, and we want to, place it here, and it cuts off that access,
Sorry, I have to.
That's all right. But I'll just say, when Dorothy steps out, we're all familiar with the connection off of Broad Rock to South County Commons. That goes through private land. That was an easement. And you can take that shot straight through, and that's a perfect example of preemptively working with the developer and saying, hey, there's a connection here to there that can be done.
Right, so like 99% of it was owned by the town for the sewer easement, but you
Right.
needed to connect.
You need that last bit.
The last bit.
So those are things that I see, if they're identified and we know that, all right,
That make it attractive
but
to
the
that
com-
developer to have that connection.
it might.
Yeah.
But they're complex. They're not easy. I mean, Ken can attest to this. Like, universities probably dealt with this. Like, I don't know how much, but like when you're dealing with the private property owner, the first inclination is a no,
Mm-hmm.
because it's easier to say no. Yeah, why should I do this with a public benefit? URI is probably more gracious with their connection because it services the university. So, but I don't know how contentious that was. I wasn't involved in that. If it was a university request or
Which one, the?
the extension going over to
that was all
URI.
our property.
Huh?
That was all our property.
That's what I mean,
Yeah,
you know, so, but, you know, they could have easily said, we don't want to do that.
Right, right.
And there's nothing the town or the state could do to compel that. I don't know, maybe the state could, you know.
I mean, eminent domain is a nasty tool. Nobody likes to use
Right.
it.
Yeah, we could, I mean, you can pull that lever, but it's not typically a lever that you want to pull
If the
in every
developer asks for
situation.
any sort of variance, the town can then say, well, how about? And
That,
for
but
added
you can't,
benefit.
there's case law in that you can, it has to be reasonableness. You can't
Yeah,
extort people. You
okay.
can't say, well, you want this, that gets into
Mhm.
fuzzy areas. So I'm only explaining that because I know there's a propensity to say, can't we just, and it's not that easy.
Understood.
And to your point, like, when I worked at DOT, we regularly at intersections would buy chunks or slivers of property, and it was hard. It was super hard, and that's why those projects took years. We did Bald Hill Road, I said we did, and it was like almost 25, 30 years ago. And we had to negotiate loss of parking spaces from all these businesses, and it cost a ton of money, took a ton of time. We would not do eminent domain back then. Yeah, we were just following on your comments and points. What's interesting, Dorothy, is when you look at zoning maps, I don't know if there's a map that shows public rights of way, you know, just streets, you know, that's the low hanging fruit. When the town or the state owns that property, there's your opportunity, you know, to say, within these constraints,
Mhm.
you know, if it's 2 rods, you know, whatever the unit of measurement is, that's something that you can really get in and work with. But, you know, to Luke's point, I'm sorry, when we stepped out, but it's private property,
Right.
it's difficult. And we went through this on Old North Road, or the town, the challenge for the sidewalks, the planning board imposes this requirement, which makes a ton of sense. The sheriff stepped in and said, no, you don't. And fortunately, the developer found a way to do something similar.
So, I mean, if this is something the group desires to get into, and it is complex, you know, the first step is, I think, I don't think we have a comprehensive plan, well, we have a comprehensive plan in total that says specific to this. Dotted lines across this. Here's ideally throughout town, all the connections we'd like to make between all these developments. And if a development goes in between there, you know, maybe there's a document that speaks to, we'd like you to consider, right, development. But again, some developments, people don't want people on their local streets. You know, they're exclusive for a reason. So then how do you get around that development? Or maybe it's something that the town takes a proactive look at. Like I'll use this as an example, right? There's one lot between Indian Run and that shopping plaza, right? And then ideally, if you can skirt the pond, depending on wetlands and ability to get up there, up the river, you know, I don't know how far you can get up to the, you know, South County Commons. There's some issues between. Here's Broad Rock, and I know there's trails all through here.
Yeah.
So there may be a bridge. Might take 2-3 properties. So if the town was so inclined, we could approach those property owners and say, listen, would you be interested in providing an easement, and whether for, you know, cost or whatever, well, they may out of the gracious goodness of their heart, but it takes a lot of, you know, jockeying and collaboration to do that. But that would be, I think, more of a public thing. It's not something we can rely on private partners for. Private partners, and this is the former planner in me, they do what's in their best interest.
Right.
And most of the time, stuff like this is not directly in the best interest. They're not going to see a major increase in their overall
Yeah.
cost coming in.
I remember us discussing Wakefield Meadows, and, you know, what a shame that we can't cut through and then, you know, have there be some way then to get over to the proposed apartment building and then to the commons, because it right now people are going out, will have to go out to Route 1. I mean, they would have to go out. I mean,
And I think to your point, I mean, if you kind of just drift back and just say, does the core language that Jamie Rabbit and the planning board are working on, does that foster that better connectivity on current public rights of way. And I feel like it does, based on those original outreach meetings that the consultant held. But it's still routed through the planning board and the state laws that govern it. So it's, in other words, if a developer said, "Hey, there's a public right of way there, it's a paper street, I just wanna take it over," we saw, oh no, there's a connection piece here. That would be, if the zoning is set up the right way, that should be something that the planning staff say, hey, you really should think about this, and the planning board typically would,
Well, that's what we want, is we just want to make sure that language is in there as a potential opportunity. Like you said, you can't force them, but they may not be aware that there's so you were saying, Luke, that we could, once we get 9 members on our committee, we could put maybe somebody, into looking at these different possible
Yeah, I mean, you
connections.
could certainly suggest
Have a
and-
document that says these are potential, and then you'd have something to point to.
Yeah, I mean, nothing
Okay.
precludes you from doing it.
Okay.
There's effort, I mean, if you
Yeah.
really want to do this could be a multi-year project where you
Yeah.
just research the properties, you draw the dotted lines, you compile a report and say, hey, here's the connections we see as important, top tier, middle tier, lower tier. And, and I've seen those in communities where they, it puts it on the forefront. So keeping in mind, the code is one thing.
Right.
And then you also have a whole planning board, and they have many similar ideas that this group does, right? And they're supposed to also be advocating and bringing in that discussion. Again, they can only do what's under ordinance, but there are ways, having been in planning, to cajole and shiny the apple a little bit and say, hey, if things would go a little smoother if with the planning board, and time is money. So when I used to run projects, I would say, listen, I know the board's gonna see this as a sticking point, so this may turn into 3 or 4 meetings, but if you do this, maybe 1 meeting, and that's,
Yeah,
probably shouldn't say that, but that's just
Yeah.
the way it works. It's,
yeah.
there's the hard way and the easy way. You can go both.
Yeah. Well, and along those lines, going down to number 7, recurring discussion topics, we had talked about review of local and regional developments, which is one of our charges, is to, is to do that, is to review and give input on relevant policy and planning documents. I don't know, maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but we had talked before about providing input on like North Woods, Fieldstone Farms, these developments, that when they come up, BPAC can provide input on what we see as maybe a potential connection, and provide that to the town council and the planning board. And we had talked about this probably a year ago or 2 when we had, a little bit more help on our committee, a little bit more folks, a few more folks. So, but that, that is one of our charges, is to provide that input. So, I mean, I think that's something we can maybe talk about at the beginning of next year. What, we start to get some of these processes going. It's not a mystery anymore. We know what the process is for the CIP every year. We see developments on the horizon. We can say, let's take a look at this as a group. We see potential for connecting a sidewalk or connecting a trail, or what about this?
One of the things that I'm thinking as you're discussing this, one of the people or groups that we should be working with is the land trust, because they go out and they find people who want to sell certain property rights, not the whole property,
Yeah.
but certain property rights prior to,
Mm-hmm.
like, they already have looked at most of the places in town and are working towards easements and property rights, just
It's a great idea.
as a thought.
Yeah.
You know. So
Invite somebody to one of our meetings to just kind of tell
But
us
the-
what they're doing and how we can, work
The
together.
process to, though, identify the local developments is to go through the planning board and see what's on their agenda as far as zoning and development requests,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, it's what's on the horizon for approvals?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I will tell you, the state watered down a lot of it, so some is administrative now. I think it's 10 and under now for development. It used to be 5 lots and under was a minor, and it would be a lesser process. I think they've changed it now, 10 and under is administrative. So that means it just goes to Jamie.
Mhm.
I'm just telling you that. That's an informational thing. But yes, in general, larger developments, including all commercial, will be posted and.
Okay.
I think where you ran into trouble last time, you were commenting on the individual developments. I think if you keep your comments to more connectivity to those developments and
Right.
between those developments, then
I
you're in a
think-
safer area.
I think that's what we were talking about. I don't remember talking about the number of houses or anything like that.
I
I
think
mean, I remember one, and I think it was Fieldstone Farms that has just this cul-de-sac that it would be nice if there was some kind of easement between two homes to attach to that trail that's going to go, the Noise Farm, the trails that are going to go on back there. So once it's, you'll never make that happen. What is the neighborhood that's off of South Road? There's two developments, and they're joined with a path that goes between them, between the lots. Windmill Road, and I can't remember what the other one
Is
is.
it Windmere?
But
You-
you can
Can you
ride your
drive that
bike
one, right?
through
Uh,
from one to the other without going on.
Yeah, it's Windmill Road. I think.
Windmill.
Oh, yeah, the Farmer Brown subdivision
Forgot the name of the
connects
other
to
one.
the backside of the ball
I mean, you can
fields.
go,
Okay.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So, I mean, you can't really go through and do that in a development that's already established. But they created this, and it's really nice for bikers to be able to come across Potter Wood and then go through that neighborhood and get all the way to the bike path without.
There was like a no bike sign there, right? I think it might have got removed on that little like gravel
Oh,
road.
yeah.
And there was like walk
The
bikes. and
softball field. in
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
it just says,
neighborhood?
I think it says walk your
Yeah,
bike.
is that still there?
But it's,
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
okay, how we doing time-wise here?
7:40.
If I can go back
7:26.
to 7A, a question for you. You said Safe Streets for All. I mean, that's the submission we had for the grant or so, the federal grant, and you said,
Yeah.
don't hold your breath for that, right?
Well,
Based
I
on
mean,
current funding
we're
and
coming out of a
government?
government shutdown. There's just been a lot this year. So and given that we're in Rhode Island,
Is there a timeframe?
I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but I'm just setting realistic expectations. I'd be probably fairly surprised if something comes through.
Something that-
Typically, it would be around, I think it was November, so it would be soon, but with everything going on, again, I don't know how this got affected by the
but
shutdown.
a
so
response to the submission would typically have been in
Been
November.
around now, so I'll keep my ear to the wind. I'm hoping we'll hear one way or another, and, yeah, so that's where we stand.
Okay, and I don't know if we hear anything on that long-range transportation plan, if anything that we suggested is in there. I don't know if how that works. But
The multimodal hub at Kingston Station?
no, the long-range transportation plan where we suggested some kind of connectivity between, across Route 1
Okay,
Yeah.
to link.
all right,
That's
that one.
not the
Mhm.
escape plan. Is that what you?
Yeah, well, then that's kind of
Yeah.
part of it too.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is the time to bring this up, but I did notice that there is a couple of ordinances going through regarding electric bikes in Providence and
East Providence, yeah.
East
Mhm.
Providence, and I'm wondering, before we get to the point of banning them on everywhere, we should probably, we may want to put that into our recurring discussion topics,
Mhm.
so that we have some input, because it is a street safety issue. And
Yeah, the ordinance specifically is for riding
On a side.
bikes on sidewalks and basically in
parks.
public parks,
Public
like
parks.
not through a park, but like on the futsal court, you know.
Yeah.
Basically, people doing stupid things that they shouldn't be doing, and they have, the council's reacting, they're gonna legislate how to prohibit that. That's unfortunate. That being said, I saw a platoon of young folks, they're not even e-bikes, they're basically electric motorcycles.
Yeah, they're
Um,
huge.
And they
Sorry,
had
I
full
don't
face
know if
helmets riding on Kingstown Road right in front of Ball Alley. Like, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because that's basically a motorized vehicle, you know, and as opposed to somebody who's riding an e-bike and they're, you know, adhering to the rules of the road, they're going back and forth to work or to Shaw's or whatever. And the cost points are getting lower and lower. And they're very, very easily accessible. And the scooters are exploding on campus.
Yeah.
And
Are they?
yeah, and I'm definitely afraid I'm cutting in ADA sidewalks and putting in more traffic controls. It's tough to catch up.
When you say scooters, you mean like Vespas type things?
No,
or,
yeah, I'm sorry.
or the
the-
skateboard stand-up thing?
Yeah, the stand-up thing, yeah,
Okay.
which is kind of neat, but then you just watch a lot of folks just on their phones and
Yeah.
just, it's like, it's like, you're gonna ruin it for everybody if you keep doing that. It's just gonna take one person that gets wrecked.
So my thought is that we should, with that whole thought process, instead of doing town by town, maybe we should do a subcommittee to work with the state on their rules. Versus,
There are already like rules.
there's already rules.
I mean, there's different classes. There's
Somebody mentioned to me the other day that a class 3 now has to be registered with
yeah,
the state.
yeah. That's like an electric motorcycle.
that's
So
what
class
they
3s are
have.
banned on bike paths. Class 2 are not.
And is it based on
There's
the
a speed limit.
the speed capacity of 27 miles an hour?
It's a combination of speed, max speed.
Is it watts?
Sorry, it's a combination of power, max speed, and pedal assist, I think. Like, I don't think the class 2 is allowed to just have a throttle. You have to be pedaling. Don't quote me on that, but they're definitely, so yeah, e-bikes are exploding in popularity, scooters, and that's great. I think this is
wonderful.
excellent news. It's like enabling more people to live without cars, and I think the immediate reaction some people have is just ban them, and I think that's like the worst thing that could happen from this. I think we should be thinking about how to protect them. Like, you see people riding on the sidewalk because it's dangerous to ride on the road. If we want them to ride on the road, you got to make the road safer, you know?
And that is why I'm saying we should probably have this as part of our recurring discussion, because this will be a hot topic.
Yep.
And if we're proactive about it, it is something that,
Yeah.
of course, after the CIP, but that should, I think that we should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to be aware of what's happening.
When we started the BPAC, I mean, I brought VO Ride here, so they brought their e-bikes and their scooters, and we had them do a presentation, and then they did a demonstration on the parking lot. Everybody loves them, and this is 7 years ago. So, yeah, our iBike is a good resource, statewide resource. A bunch of advocates, you could check with them. Just to stay in tune with the statewide politics. Everybody's got an opinion. They don't always agree.
Mm.
Or we brought Barry Freeman up here from, like Newport in the past. She's a very engaged advocate.
Yeah.
And she gets paid full time to do her job.
Oh, does she? Okay.
So she might have some time to talk with us.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I like the idea of maybe inviting somebody from the land trust, and she'd be great to invite her as well and kind of give us a little boost.
Getting ourselves ready for 2026.
That's right.
Yay!
That's right. That's right. So, well, I think we got a lot done on this meeting here. Anybody else have any? I mean, we have the kind of recurring discussion topics. If anybody has any desire to sit in or just keep an eye on what other committees are doing, you know, see what their agendas are. There could be some overlap here and there. I know that, like for affordable housing cooperative, we like to make sure that whatever projects are going on, that there's access, you know, for bikes, just you know, South Road or Wakefield or whatever might happen at is it Watson or Watkins?
Watson.
Watson.
But the town plans on rehabbing and selling that property.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that there's lots of different ideas about.
So the council, if you didn't know, I should have
The
probably
council
put it.
voted for
The
that.
council did vote. I had prepared a memo to kind of push this along, and they jumped on board. So I'm actively working on this. Wakefield School is coming down.
Okay.
South Road School, we met with Deb Goddard from the housing department. Unfortunately, the state it's just trying to get money out of them, even though they've made commitments to us that we would get money. It's a tough nut to crack because they only have so much, so it's highly probable that South Road's gonna come down, because the council basically said, go see if you can get grants for it. If you can't, then come back and we'll authorize taking a step in that direction. The Watson House, I'm actively working to start the inspection process and get that. That has been approved to get engineering done, lot that off, and sell it. Ideally, the council wanted to do it to put the funds back into the project. So, but that's a good house for somebody, and it's not getting any better. It's been vacant for 25 years, and it's an affordable house. So that's in process, and then also designing, doing some of the engineering, so survey work and the sewer work potentially, or sewer design for South Road School, because there would need to be a sewer there in order to support the development density we're talking
Mhm.
about. So just so you know, again,
Okay.
something you should be aware of, and I know you were looking at before, but if you're talking about mobility, those will be potential housing developments. I will say Wakefield will probably be on a slower track, only because just, you know, it's not, right now, the core focus of the council is gonna be more on South Road, because that's really low-hanging fruit, and it's got a great build-out potential. And along with the Watson property. The Watson property is about 2.5 acres, probably 2 acres, probably 2.25 by the time we're done, and that's got a high
But
possibility.
the town
of
isn't
success.
selling the property. They just are going to lease it for development, or?
The properties in general?
Yeah.
We haven't figured out that far. So the idea is to take out some of the things out of the equation that are gonna cost money, right? One of the big things is infrastructure, so you take those costs out. The buildings are a liability, because, you know, that's a $600,000 liability sitting there to demo that building with the abatements and whatnot. So the idea is to move steps to reduce the uncertainty, so we can get a development partner. Deb Goddard has recommended we put an RFQ out to get a development partner on board. So ideally, we'd get a development partner that would work some sort of arrangement. So it doesn't necessarily mean we'd give up the property. We could hold the property, and the development partner may say, we'll do a lease arrangement or build it or some other financial mechanism, especially with a nonprofit. But it may be that they want to take the property at, let's say, no cost, and they say, but we can build a more affordable housing. Or they take it at cost and there's less affordable housing. So that's all going to be part of the grinder process through this, of where they land, because every development partner is different. You know, Habitat, they hold the property and they lease the land to the tenant. Others sell individual lots, so it's complicated.
Yeah.
All that to say, it's complicated. We're just trying to keep the process moving in the right direction. This is not gonna happen overnight. This is gonna be, you know, multi-year thing. But that gives you time.
Yeah, give
To-
us this
to
time,
think about.
because South Road coming up to 138, as you know, can be a real bear to get out of there. I mean, and you add, I don't know how many additional homes and families and cars.
And how is it flowing with the restriction they now have on 138 at the bottom of North Road?
Is it, I'm sorry, it is or is
They
not?
put the upright
Yes.
reflective.
I haven't had a, you know, I haven't really noticed the difference.
I've,
Have you?
yeah, I talked to Susan, actually, and,
Has
you
it-
know, there are times when, I mean, it's the right thing to do, right? So, she has, witnessed queues going beyond, to the east, beyond, 108. Because people don't slingshot, you know, through that, parking lane.
Mhm.
So, maybe
It's usually
people-
certain times, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely,
It is.
and it's cause and effect.
And
that's
is it
the right
backing up?
effect.
And is it backing up 108 for people trying to make a left-hand turn when the traffic is backed up on?
Oh, we would assume so. I mean,
Yeah.
it depends on where people are
But
coming
that's
and
the first
going.
step. And the
Well-
concept of the state and going to the state, we went to the state 2.5 years ago.
Mhm.
And finally, one thing was done.
Yeah, and they haven't done the taking away those parking spaces
No.
in front of the Tavern Hall, and I'm on the board there.
And that's dangerous, yeah.
Well, students are now, those URI students are now parking
Oh,
on, right in
yeah.
front of that.
Mhm.
It used to be open, and now when they have a concert, there's no place for anybody to park.
A concert?
'Cause-
What do you mean?
At Tavern Hall, they have, once a month, they have a concert, and once a month, they have a lecture. And there's no place for people to park because the
So they're parked there all evening now?
students are parking there overnight.
Yes.
They've just, I mean, apparently discovered it because of the
Train
the-
station.
The train station.
Mhm.
So now, and there really are not many there's no alternative to parking. There's no parking on Old North, there's no parking on South Road. You'd have to park at the church, maybe.
So what is the Old Tavern Hall Club going to do to
I don't know.
address your parking issues?
Well,
As a
the
board
judge is gonna call somebody, your office.
Seems similar to what the Kings Free Library is going through.
Yeah,
You know, it's an issue. You got to deal with it. It's
Yeah.
tough. You know.
yeah, I don't know. There's no.
But the state said they were gonna take away at least one parking space. They need to, in my mind, remove at least 2 parking
I think so.
spaces for the visibility there.
Yeah.
But that's back to the state. Sorry, Luke, we're digressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're ready
Okay.
to
We're done?
we'll call it a day.
All right, when's our
So
next meeting?
Hey,
to
Ken?
occur?
it's December the,
I'll look at it.
okay, but, yeah, December the.
You looking for the date?
Yeah, so that I can,
Yeah, what is it?
all right. All right, it's December the 11th. Okay, so our next meeting will be December the 11th, and I'm hoping that we can kind of just do a recap on the year, and then some goals for next year. And then maybe break for,
Yankee swap or?
I think we should then take a break if it's okay to, socialize a little bit. But, anybody, a motion to adjourn for the
We
day?
already did that.
Did you? Where was
It happened,
I?
it was seconded while you talked.
Oh my God.
So whatever you just said was not official.
Great, I'm so glad that you all are taking matters into your hands.
Strike
All right,
that.
thank
Not that they
you.
want to get out of here.
Oh, it's time, it is absolutely time.
Glad you could join us.
Thank you, thanks for coming and
I know we're officially adjourned, but I did want to bring up the bike path extension in Narragansett.
Oh, please.
So yeah, I'm on their ad hoc committee
Okay.
to do it, and